us go back to the example of China. Chinese Islam is as old as the Islam of Syria or Egypt or Iraq or Iran. And the way that it was generated is complex. You can see it in the paper, Seek Knowledge in China. What's interesting, though, is that the Chinese Muslims came to understand that Islam had to be articulated in a way that was completely consonant with Chinese culture, that affirmed Chinese culture, that removed anything foreign or alien from Islam. There were many reasons, cultural and civilizational, that made that necessary. The Chinese built mosques, which, like Muslim mosques everywhere in the world, were indigenous. The Chinese mosque is very Chinese, and it varies from one region to another according to the particular type of religion that you have there. So in areas like Beijing, where the Confucianists dominated, the mosque takes on a Confucianist quality. But when you go there, it's very clear that this is a mosque, that it's a very beautiful mosque. And in fact, if you probably go in to pray, you wouldn't want to leave. If you go to Langzhou, which is between Tibet and between Mongolia, and where Tibetan Buddhism dominates, there the mosques have a Tibetan quality. They take that on. This was actually the nature of mosques wherever they were built in the Muslim world. And this quality of taking on the symbols of the sacred, of taking interpretive control over the religion in a particular environment, some of our scholars have expressed that imperative by the metaphor of a river that is crystal clear. The water is perfectly pure, and that water is Islam. That's a metaphor for Islam. The water has no color. It is life-giving, it is sweet, it is cool, but it has no color itself. So it takes on the color of whatever it flows over. If it flows over green, it looks green. Over red, it looks red. If it is by Timbuktu and it flows over the sand, it reflects the sand. And this is the way also that Islamic culture has been. And that's why one of the amazing things about Islamic culture is that it manifested itself as a peacock's tail that went from east to west, that was filled with all kinds of different colors, all kinds of different ethnic groups, cultural backgrounds, languages, yet it was a single tail. It was Islamic. It was united in the basic principles of the law. It was united in the basic principles of the theology. Let's see if I've, yeah. Well, I think that, to come back to China, just to say a word about that, and hopefully now to conclude. So how do the Chinese, for example, speak about Islam in China? You have big problems in Chinese that come from the use of ideograms, the symbolic letters. You also have problems that come from the difficulty for Chinese, given the tonal nature of their language, to pronounce the sounds of foreign languages. So if you wanted to say, for example, Islam, it would come out Yisilam. Yisilam. And if you wanted to say the religion of Islam, it would be Yisilam Jiao, which sounds strange and which is foreign. That's a fault in Chinese culture. So what the Chinese did, also you have to spell it. And if you try to spell Yisilan, it means that you have to use ideograms that basically give those sounds, but they may be comical. They may create an impression that is not appropriate. The Chinese Muslims, therefore, called their religion Qingzhenjiao, which means the religion of the pure and the real. This was a brilliant tour de force because it appropriated the symbols of the sacred from the most ancient and revered traditions of China, and it made them the identity of Chinese Muslims. So therefore, it made Islam something interesting to the Chinese. Qingzhen were symbols of profound meaning. They meant that the religion was pure, that it was pure on the inside and the outside, that it was sincere, also that it was a religion that was predicated on the ultimate realities of heaven and earth. And that's what Islam is. When you go into a mosque in China, you often see 4 ideograms which say the primordial religion from the foundation of heaven. This was the approach that the Chinese Muslims took to everything that they did.